So moved.
Can I
Second.
get it? All right. Let's go, Chris,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 5-0-0. I'll see you guys all in closed session. I want to welcome everybody back. Can I get a motion to reconvene to open session?
I'll move that.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Great. So you guys will be my first and seconds tonight. Chris,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 500. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And you can say it along with me. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move it. Second.
Anybody want to make any additions, revisions? Okay, Chris,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 500. Actions taken in closed session. We gave direction to staff regarding negotiations with STA and CSEA. Recognition. We don't have any today. I didn't have any comments for review. I did get a written communication, but we'll cover that in a second. Bargaining unit, Ms. Pena, do you have something?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees. Wow, 2020 has been a relentless year. Between raging forest fires right in our own community, a societal climate of extreme division on a myriad of levels, which our classrooms are not immune to, and of course, a seemingly never-ending global pandemic that has rocked the core of everything we thought we knew about education. 2020 continues to rage like a hurricane. Yet even through this Category 5 storm, in which our usual planes are no longer fit, the flight has not been canceled. Rather, the teachers of SUSD continue to do what they've always done when faced with a challenge. They've persevered. They've joined forces, and through hard work and amazing collaboration, they've figured out how to do the seemingly impossible. They've built a new plane. In fact, they continue to build it as they fly. And what an amazing vessel it is. This is a first-rate craft. Through insurmountable challenges on a daily and weekly basis, teachers continue to figure it out. Limits in technology tools, learning new technology tools, connectivity issues, building trust and community from a distance, finding ways to differentiate and reach every student, and adjusting instructional strategies through considerations of social emotional needs of students and concerns over learning loss. This outstanding group of educators continue to fine-tune this airplane, and it is soaring for the students. The students in our community are receiving a top-notch education. That being said, the teachers are exhausted, and they are giving everything they have to keep their morale from being swept away with the torrential downpour. Never before have we worked so hard and worked so many hours just to stay afloat, and yet the storm rages on. Between creating everything from scratch to reimagine lessons and content, the substantial increase in grading that is a reality of distance learning, the increased forms and paperwork that come from state mandates for distance learning accountability, and the increase in emails from parents and students to account for the challenges and uncertainties that transitioning to a new learning model bring. And of course, all of this creates a blur of boundaries so that this building of this aircraft is a 24/7, never-ending task. While the challenges look different at the elementary and secondary levels and may need a different site-specific model at each school site once it is time to step into the next phase of reopening, all of our teachers can agree that 2020 has brought new challenges never seen before, and they are working harder than ever. As we continue to embark on this journey with all of its often unpredictable twists and turns, Tackling challenges head on and with flexibility, we ask that you consider the sacrifices and hardships our teachers are facing this year as you make decisions on navigating this storm. Between very real concerns over both safety and burnout, teachers are giving all they can. We look forward to blue skies. We look forward to a time when we can safely return to classrooms filled with the types of learning experiences we're accustomed to and comfortable with. Until then, we will continue to weather this storm to the very best of our abilities. Thank you for your time, the teachers at Spreckels Union School District.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone from CSEA? Okay, hearing none. Board member comments?
Actually,
Chris?
Excuse me, Heather is here.
Yeah, Heather's
She's muted right now, so Heather, unmute unmute yourself. Heather?
Sometimes that mute button is tricky.
She just texted me and said she's not able to unmute. Can you unmute her, Monica? She's getting a blocked message.
Travis, can you help her with that?
It's not letting me unmute.
Do you want
Sometimes
to?
you have to do it from the toolbar at the top of the page where the meeting link is. Sometimes there's
Yeah.
an icon.
So
That's
I
what-
have Heather on the phone. I'm going to put her on speaker and we're going to have her go that way.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay, Heather.
Can you hear me?
1 second. Okay, can you guys hear her? Go ahead.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, just want to talk on and we like to always, as always, I just want to.
Sorry, Heather, we have feedback. I can't
So Heather,
understand a word you're saying.
really,
Somebody's got to turn
Heather,
off. Hello? We lost them both.
Graham's trying to resolve it.
Monica, do
Yeah,
you
what
want another link, and then maybe she can come back in later in the agenda?
I'll send it to her.
We're happy to move her back in. We'll keep going, but we'll work her into the agenda when she gets back on. Okay. I'm going to just keep going in the interest of time. Board member comments. I'm going to just start with Chris.
Nope. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Just
You're
want to say I know people are starting to get tired, and it's just keep trekking. Everybody's doing a great job. I get it. Trust me. But you're doing great. And the kids, from what I see, the kids are enjoying school. They are enjoying seeing you. So keep it up.
Steve.
I want to echo what Jennifer just said. It's absolutely exhausting. You think it would be not so bad that you don't have to commute to work to teach, but it's actually harder, a lot harder, with fewer instructional minutes. So you have to make those decisions of what you're going to deliver each day, as opposed to what you would have before times. And the work, the paperwork, although relief is coming or should be coming if it hasn't already, about how to document the work. It's still a lot. So empathetic for everybody, all folks, regardless of if you're classified, certificated administrative, or certificated bargain unit STA. It's I get it. I get it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Michael.
Yeah, I just want to third what Jennifer and Steve said. And I also want to say that I appreciate the library pickup. I'm a parent and my child loves the library. And so it's just very much appreciated. So thank you.
Great, thank you. I don't have any comments. I'm going to do oral and written comments, and then we'll see if Heather's ready. We did get an email from Ms. Powers, and that can be entered into the record. Is Heather available?
So we can't get it to work. What she said she would do is write a letter to you guys, just addressing what she wanted to go over. Does that work?
That would be great, and we can enter that as a comment as part of the record.
Perfect.
I'm willing to take that hearing unless I hear any contradictory recommendations from board members. We will take that. Superintendent report.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. We're a month into this 2020-21 year, and most things in life, things get easier as you go, right? This isn't one of them. And everything that I've heard is extremely difficult, but I also believe we're providing the best quality instruction we can. Everybody's pitching in, working extra. Today I had the pleasure of actually attending my first virtual middle school classes. I had a chance to go to 3 classes, and the teachers were just right on. Kids, for what I saw, were engaged, but what we saw the first 5 minutes here with the glitches and all that, that's what they're doing the entire time. I was in Ms. Pena's class learning about science. Thank you, Ms. Pena. And on the chat bar, I saw how one student said that the other student was getting upgrades on her computer, so she'll be back in a second. So it's constant. And yeah, the job our teachers are doing and are classified, and it's amazing. So I just want to shout out to everybody because we are a month in and we're getting through it. And again, from what I saw, it's quality instruction, and we will plug away. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Buena Vista, Ms. Packran.
So it is pretty difficult to believe that it's only been a month because it feels like a lot longer, especially when you think of the whole grand scheme of how we've been doing some sort of distance learning since March. This year has been long and it has been challenging. I echo all of that. And it's been challenging to everyone. The teachers definitely, they've been reinventing the wheel. They've been working very, very hard trying to make sure that we can provide a robust education to all of our students. Families, you guys have been working extremely diligently, working with your students, trying to get them to log on, try to get them to follow schedules, and also receive the best education possible. And so we do realize that it does take a community, and we're all in this together, and we really appreciate all of the efforts that are moving forward. So crazy that it's only been a month. It's kind of nuts. But we are moving forward. And at the middle school, we're following the traditional timeline of when we would have started school. So technically progress reports, they're coming out next week because that's halfway through the trimester already, which is just right around the corner. So parents expect to get a progress report actually mailed to you next week. And then we have conferences coming up as well, but kids are in classrooms. We're increasing our connectivity with students. We're touching base with students to make sure everybody's learning and accessing education. So big shout out to all. It does take a village on this, and I really appreciate everyone's role in education at this time. So thanks.
Great. Thank you. Spreckels, Ms. Sherbinsky.
Good evening, everyone. I always come at the end of it, so I don't have to say as much, but I echo what everyone else has said. We are truly a very special community, and it really shows in the hard times. And it takes all of us, and all of us are working very, very hard. So shout out to every single employee in the Spreckels Union School District, because they all are pulling more than their weight. As we're moving forward, one of the things that is happening is on my side, a lot of the kids are starting to lose it a little bit. It's getting to be a little too much for them. They don't want to do it anymore. That's typical, normal. But the teachers find ways to pull them back in. You know, the parents are working so hard. So for those parents that are listening right now, we know you're doing a ton. And we appreciate that connection that you make with us, because we really are that community. We have to do it together. And so, but the common thread has been, even if it's tough, even if my kid's having a hard time, The teachers are fabulous. They're working so hard. So thank you so much for all of that. And that's my goal, is to keep our community alive through all this craziness. And as Michael mentioned, that's one of the things we're doing with the library pickup. We've had 3 now, and it's been lots of fun. I had one of those down days personally today. It's kind of down in the dumps, and went and helped Mr. McMahon and a couple of our employees do the library this afternoon. And I'm happy again, just seeing families and kiddos and their excitement about picking up a couple books, which is just the mundane part of our world that makes them very happy. So the more things that we can do, we will do it. Lots of it's virtual, but we're keeping at it. So thank you to everyone, because it really does make a difference, and we'll get through it, and we'll come out better on the other side. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody for SUEF or PTO or Bobcats?
No, not for SUEF.
No. Yeah. I'm just running through them.
I did spot Heather.
Yeah.
Heather, sorry.
Yes, I see she's kind of come and gone back. Heather, are you able to unmute?
Okay, sorry. Same problem.
Okay. I was going to say, Heather, if you do get the opportunity to unmute during this, pipe up and we'll work you in. Let's do the fund balance report.
I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And we'll move through this. Please let me know when you can see it. Are we there? Okay, so this is through 9:30.
We're there. Go for it.
Okay, it's through 9:30, the first quarter of the year, and we actually have a positive ending fund balance of $31,000. Now, this is good news just in terms of ins and outs for the beginning of the year, but we still do not have, you can see right here where my cursor is, the beginning balances have yet to be posted from the county. So we expect that to happen any day now, and that's going to change that ending balance substantially. But we're watching cash every week. We're doing deferral schedules to make sure that we're going to be able to get through this year with all the mighty deferrals. But at this point, we're doing well.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, hearing none, let's go to facilities update.
So we just continue to prepare for reopening, constantly working on our PPEs, our cleaning. We recently put in a huge order for a special HVAC filter. Those are, the majority of them will be arriving at the end of this week. So we're just watching the countdown each week, waiting for our students to return.
Great. Class configuration.
On this, I'm just going to jump to this end of this page because we want to focus on the overall district enrollment and speak to what we're seeing happen from the time that school should have started, which was in August. We were at an enrollment projection of 995. And as of the running of this report, which was last Thursday, we were at, we dropped down to 973, a loss of 22 students. I think, Eric, you were sharing there were 3 more that dropped yesterday, so we're now down 25. And so I went back to Jennifer, our registrar, to sort of give me a breakdown of what is that number? What does it consist of? Are they really kids who have moved out of the district? And there are some of those for certain. And then there's another population that are either doing homeschool or charter schools. So we're going to kind of keep a close eye on that, because if we do reopen, we hope that some of those kids actually return. If they end up not coming back, then we need to be tracking it, especially come January and February, as we start to plan our class sizes for 21, 22. But yeah, it was telling that at this point, within a month, 6 weeks since school should have started, we're down 25 kids.
I do have a question that I don't know the answer to, but maybe I can guess the answer, but I'm going to ask it without guessing. So I know we're held harmless this year, so although for the current year for apportionment, it's not a concern, but we don't know what the plan is yet for next year. We can assume it's the old way of doing things, right? So thus what you said, we need to track to see where those pockets of dips are by grade level as we think about staffing. So can we assume that apportionment will be back to before times for next year? Is it too soon to know? I haven't heard anything.
I haven't either, Steve. I think that we'll get some indication in the governor's January budget proposal, and there will probably be some push to actually consider another hold harmless into 21-22, just so districts can build their budgets and plan their staffing, because who knows what this may all bring. But we certainly need to pay close attention to that. If we could use ADA from 1920, it was because they were projecting the hold harmless in 1920 went to a certain date and time in 1920. It was earlier than typically it would have been captured. And at that point, our attendance rate was very good. So that's a strong number for us. If they capture 21-22 in 2020-21, then we would fall into that declining enrollment status, right? And so we would build our budget on that number. But then if 21-22, we actually did have growth, the apportionment would be adjusted. So we would get the higher of the 2 years.
Okay, well, thanks for bringing this to our attention. It's now it's on our radar screen collectively. Cool.
Yes.
Not cool, but cool. It's good to know.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Let's go on to the adopted budget review.
This is correspondence really from the county office that they reviewed our adopted budget, which has subsequently been changed twice. But this is one of the criteria that is, they have to tell us that they reviewed it and that they agree with our set of assumptions, our projections, and our budget passed their sniff test. So it's slightly meaningless at this point because we did the 45-day revise. If you remember, when we adopted the budget, we were in the doom and gloom scenario that we were going to lose, 10, 15, 20% of our state aid. But information only.
Okay. Comments, concerns? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to I need a motion to approve the Department of Education request for allowance of attendance due to emergency conditions form.
I'll move that.
Second.
Do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, just really quickly, you saw a draft of this at the regular September meeting. And since then, we have met with both bargaining units and agreed on a revised calendar, which is part of the submission requirements. When we do turn this waiver request into the state, we have to actually show them the calendar where we've revised it to capture the days, minus the days that we're asking them to waive. So we ended up with the request is for 3 days, that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the river fire, and we don't expect there to be any pushback on this, but of course we just need to go through the process. Likely the most difficult thing will be at the very end of this form. I need to get all of y'all's signatures. So tomorrow I'll start sending a copy. I'll start with you, Peter. If you could sign it and send it back to me, then I'll send it on to Steve and Michael and Chris and Jennifer. So please watch for that email if you could sign it and return it, and then we'll send it on to the county office to begin the review process.
Sounds good. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, Chris?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 500. Thank you. Moving on, we need a motion to approve the revised school calendar.
Move.
Second.
And this is
walk us through.
the evidence of finding those 177 days. And just to point them out for your viewing pleasure, 2 of them are on the 17th and 18th of November. The third one is January 4th. This previously was a staff development day. So the kids will return Monday the 4th from the winter recess. The fourth one is on April 5th, which is the day after Easter, which had previously been what we consider a travel day. And then the final 5th day was captured on the 10th of June. The original calendar had the last day of school on June 9th. We've moved it up 1 day.
Does anybody have any questions?
Just for the record, Veronica, this has been presented to both bargaining groups and approved.
Yes, sir. It was actually put together in collaboratively. We worked through the selection of those 5 days, and then there was a formal side letter written with both groups and shared with their bargaining units and supported.
Veronica, once again, for November, you said, I'm sorry, Peter, will you, or whoever's scrolling, can you scroll to November again, please? I just want to confirm it was the 17th and the 18th.
I'm sorry, it's the 16th and the 17th. And so, I'm sorry, it's the 23rd. I'm in the blue. Wrong line. We're here.
Yeah.
23rd and the 24th, the Monday and Tuesday before Thanksgiving, which starts on the 25th. My apologies.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to plan my calendar. Thank you.
Good catch.
So for Veronica, once this is approved, we'll be sending out revised calendars to students and parents and families, because the colors are really throwing me off, obviously. So we'll be fixing that. Okay. If we're ready, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Chris?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Thank you very much for putting that together. Thank you, everybody, for figuring that out. Very important. I need a motion to adjourn to public hearing. Or not adjourn. I need a motion to open public hearing.
I'll move that, Peter.
Second.
Thank you. Chris?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. I'll just read this. Pursuant to relevant section, the governing board of Spreckels will hold a public hearing on the instructional materials sufficiency. We are now in public hearing.
And Peter, we received no public comments.
Okay. So I now will entertain a motion to adjourn from public hearing.
Move.
Second.
Chris?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 500. I need a motion to approve resolution 20-21/8 textbook and instructional materials compliance.
I'll move it.
Second.
So this is just the formal resolution that speaks to the surveys having been completed. And Teresa and Kate, they do one for each of their schools. Teresa, do you want to share the process a little bit?
Sure. We just go through and check each content area and what we have adopted. And nothing has changed this school year. and I do want to share, it doesn't show on this form, but we are looking forward to doing some piloting for science as we move forward.
And then Kate, did you want to say anything about Buena Vista's survey?
Sure. The only thing that's in the process of changing right now is we are piloting a science program at the middle school. We started one last year, tried a program out, and we're phasing into McGraw-Hill is our second one that we've been trying out. So we are still in the piloting stages. It's been an interesting process piloting, while seeing in-person instruction, but then also now how we can do online. And so it's definitely changed our viewpoints a little bit as we go through the process. But that's the rest are the same and pretty basic survey.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? Chris?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Sorry, Michael?
Aye.
Sorry, Michael. I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 5-0. Oh, my favorite.
Peter?
Quarterly report.
Yeah,
this is my last
Do I
one.
see Heather?
Huh?
Do I see Heather?
Oh, Heather. Okay. Actually, we're going to hold on the. Let's just leave that up here because I love seeing it. Heather, we can see green on you now. Would you like to comment? Thank you for catching that, Steve.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yay. Okay. I had it all written down, but it kind of was going to go. I'm just going to shoot from the hip. So CSEA, of course, wants to always thank the board and the district for working with us. There's been a lot going on. A lot of nerves are rattled with everything. One thing that I can say is there are half of us that are working from home and probably half of us that are working at the sites. And I know that we're all working equally as hard in our own specific ways. I did want to give a shout out to, of course, the ones that are helping the teachers. I know it's difficult. I'm watching some of the kids right now in the gym at BV, and it's a difficult time for everybody. When a couple weeks ago, the board asked the transportation department if we would be willing to transport any kids to Buena Vista because they were having Wi-Fi issues, and without hesitation, we jumped in, said, yeah, sure, we'll transport the kids. A few days later, we were approached if we would be willing to supervise the kids in the gym. And at first, Anita and I, a little bit nervous, but we know that in the long term, it's what's best for the students. So we, without hesitation again, we said we would do it. I know when I go on campus, either at Spreckels or at Buena Vista, I feel completely confident in the cleanliness, the disinfecting. We have protocols in place for the busing where we worked with the students when they get on the bus. We take their temperature, we're social distancing them, masks on at all times. A little cough or a sneeze takes on a whole different meaning now than it used to. But again, the bottom line is we want to get the kids the support that they need. I know that I watch it on a daily basis when I'm at either site, that especially at Buena Vista right now with the kids in place, that the staff is doing everything they can to make sure things are disinfected, clean, the supplies are there. And it's just important for me to express that because I know at some point when the kids do start to come back, parents are going to be concerned. And I just think that everybody should know we're all doing everything we can to make it as safe as possible for the kids and the students. Let me see. There was something else I was going to say that I don't remember. I just hope that we can all continue to work together. And the most important thing is that, when things do start to open, to get the kids back. When I left Spreckels this afternoon, it just brought warmth to my heart to see the little YMCA kids running around on the fields. And I just can't wait till we can all get back to that. So thanks for listening. Sorry, it took a little bit longer for me to figure out how to turn the microphone on. Thank you again. We look forward to continuing to work together as hopefully things get opened up soon.
Great. Thank you. And thank you. I'm glad we were able to hear you. And this is definitely as we were saying, this is what we're experiencing, I think, every day is connectivity issues. So
yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right, going back to the Williams quarterly complaints. I kind of feel bad. This is my last time seeing him, but no complaints. Committee updates.
Yeah, actually, we have met with a couple committees. The opening committee reconvened about a week and a half ago, and they gave input on parts of the presentation you're going to see in a second. And I will share again what they see are the next steps. I also sent out an invite to the committee today. The county is bringing back in a virtual fashion. They're all in for equity conference this year, so it's great. We're hopefully going to have one or two of our equity committee reps there. And again, I joked today that equity doesn't stop for COVID. It obviously doesn't. In fact, it becomes more important, I believe, during this time. And so hopefully we'll come back with some real good ideas for continuing our work in our district. That's it for committees.
Great, thank you. Let's go to reopening plan.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Please give me a shout out when you see it. We good?
Got it. Yep, we're good.
Okay. The goal tonight is to kind of revisit what we formally approved in July, which is now more than 2 months ago. Take a look at the most recent parent survey that, as of this morning, we have that summary of those results. We're discussing kind of the new state metrics for reopening and how that affects us, moving to our phase 2 when we could do that. And then talk about what are called targeted specialized support service cohorts that we've already begun at Buena Vista, but we'd like to expand. Just to go back in time, 2 months ago, the board approved a 3-phase reopening plan for the year. Phase 1 we're in currently, distance learning for everybody. We picked as of now, an unrealistic date of October 9th for the transition. Our county is not at a point we could do that yet. Phase 2 had 3 triggers. One would be when the conditions allow, which we'll talk about in a few more slides, when a formal recommendation came from our reopening committee, and when the board took action on that. The other part that was discussed briefly at the time was surveillance testing, and this was actually, this comes in the state guidelines as a recommendation, although I believe it's going to be a substantial hurdle and something we need to have in place when we do bring kids back on a larger scale. Testing capacity in Monterey County is kind of undetermined right now, but there is work being done. Tomorrow, in fact, I'll be joining the other superintendents in the county on a Zoom with the superintendent of schools. MCOE is trying to enter into partnerships with Stanford University to provide that testing for all, I think, 11,000 of the county's school employees, because again, the recommendation is to have the staff, 25% of the staff tested every 2 weeks. So all staff members tested on a 2-month basis ongoing. So that's going to be, again, I'll have more information the next time, but that conversation happens tomorrow. And then our reopening plan, it did, if you read deep enough into the document, talk about a phase 3, which is returning to as normal as possible, hopefully sometime this year. We've been giving many surveys, and for the parents watching tonight, apology, you've been surveyed to death this year, and we get it. The importance of updated data can't be understated. We want to make sure that we get how you feel currently. The survey talked about, asked for evaluation on our distance learning program, which is critical as we were a month in, but also at the end asked about parents as of this point, their most, what option they'd plan on as of now. Again, continuing distance learning, or our next phase, the hybrid. So again, parents, thank you so much for your willingness to take these surveys. We got a huge percent back, 552 responses as of this morning, which is much more than 50%. So it's a very good representation of our community. First question had to do with basically the workload of students. too much, too little, just about right. And this is great. Most of these results are very positive. 79% said students are being challenged with the appropriate workload. However, that's leaves 21%, and this is kind of a pattern you'll see. Some people think it's too excessive. Some think it's not demanding enough. So obviously something we're going to have to work on. But again, having almost 80% feel it's appropriate, it's a good start. Next question had to do with the district providing the appropriate resources to help in distance learning. Again, 74% on the positive side, 18% neutral, and then 8% only were of the disagree or strongly disagree. So a big shout out to everyone who's part of providing those online services. Shout out to Travis and Ryan, all the staff that's making sure that parents and kids have what they need to make this as successful as possible. Next question had to do with the amount of time spent in live instruction specifically. If you go back about 2 months, one of the new requirements of the new distance learning was to have daily live instruction or synchronous instruction. So it's a balance, and we've been kind of like trying to, that balance is struck right. According to the survey, 63% believed the right amount, with another 25 real close to the middle, and then 12% felt it was inappropriate. But again, those extremes on both sides, not enough or too much. So depends, I think, on the child and the situation. Next up had to do with kids being able to complete distance learning independently. We big shout out to parents. We know that in many cases, the parents are right there with the kids. And I can't imagine having 3 kids, the youngest at 17. I couldn't imagine pulling this off, but our parents are doing it. And for the most part, 60% said their students are strongly, or they agree that their childs are independent. That leaves 22%, and I would guess, we haven't really disaggregated the data yet, but I would guess a lot of those are from the earliest grades, because it's extremely hard in TK and K in first grade for these kids to be independent. They're learning to be, but this first month it's been difficult. Next question had to do with student engagement while distance learning. 62%, they were mostly or very engaged, leaving 38% on the other side, which is a number that we need to address, and we will be working to do that. Last question had to do with, as of now, what parents would choose if we reopen tomorrow with our hybrid. And this is very similar to the first pass of the survey. About said they want the option A, which was 3 hours of in-person, the AM PM cohort. And then about a fourth would keep their kids home in full distance learning. So again, very telling results. Also, I think very, very positive at this point. Next up, so the million-dollar question obviously is, when can we get to phase 2? About a month or so ago, our governor shifted the reopening criteria to a color-coded tier level, with purple being the most widespread COVID to yellow being minimal. Yellow would be probably normal by as much as we'll ever get back to normal. Currently, so basically these colors are decided by 2 metrics. One is the amount of new COVID tests out of 100,000. If you're more than 7, you're in the widespread purple level. And then positivity rates out of those tests that they give, what percent are positive? And again, if you're over 8%, you're in the purple. Now, if one of these metrics is in purple, you're in purple as a county. You don't get half credit here. And the state releases the updated county rates every Tuesday. So I'm going to share the last 3 Tuesdays. And I transfer slide, just keep in your mind 7 and 8. Those are the big numbers to hit. On the 22nd, we had a 10%, 10 out of 100,000 cases. So that was too high. But our positivity rate was underneath the threshold. So that would have been enough to get us to the next year. Following week, not much change. A little bit better on the top, step back on the bottom. And as of today, pretty much the same, which says basically that we're not getting there yet, which is, yeah, it's kind of, it's tough news. Every Tuesday I wake up hoping, and as of today, that's where we're at. This is another way to look at it. They stopped providing this graph at the Monterey Health Department, but it's kind of telling because there's the color-coded lines, or each one symbolizes something. The yellow is actually for school waivers, and I'll explain that in a second. But basically, schools can apply for a waiver for TK through 6th grade students if the case rate is under 14%. And that happened in about, I think, the week of September 8th. As of now, it's my understanding that only a few private schools have applied and only 2 schools in the county. And those are like public schools in Big Sur, which have literally less than 10 kids. And I believe another small South County school. So right now, not a lot of districts are, for obvious reasons, doing this. It's hard to get a direct answer, but there's a belief that your district's capacity to test is going to be part of the approval process. As of now, I'm not sure. As of Friday, it wasn't confirmed if anybody had their waiver granted. I would believe that some will soon. Sorry, let me go back. So again, what does that mean for us? It means basically we can't open today, we can't open tomorrow, and really not soon. What has to happen to move forward, and this is kind of the confusing part, if next Tuesday we hit those metrics, we don't open the next day, or we can't open the next day. You have to meet the 2 metrics for 2 weeks to even move into the next color. Once you're in that color, to reopen schools, you have to maintain it for another 2 weeks. So 2 plus 2 is, unfortunately, in this case, 4 weeks. So at the earliest, when Tuesday we hit the numbers, we have to maintain them for 4 weeks to even reopen. And then as of last Friday, there's a new wrinkle into this. It's something called the equity index. And quite honestly, I don't know a whole lot about it. It was just released. The idea is that in a given county, you have discrepant zip codes with COVID rates. And due to that, Monterey probably is going to be one that is identified as an issue because in our zip code, we have, obviously, as most people know, quite different rates. This might be a third hurdle to reopen in the sense that I believe that the county needs to come up with a plan to deal with those more affected rates, if that makes sense. But again, the equity index is brand new as of last Friday, or at least the release of it. So here's a couple scenarios. The first is when, and based on that information, let's say next Tuesday we hit the red metrics. The earliest, if we maintain those numbers for 4 weeks, the earliest we could reopen is the second week of November. The third column, I kind of looked at our calendar and tried to come up with natural dates that align. And the second week of November actually jives with our first trimester, which would be a nice time to transition if everything went well. If next Tuesday things don't work out and it's the following Tuesday, again, we're in the third week of November. If it's the following week, now we're at the end of November, which is aligned to Thanksgiving week. And the reason I'm bringing this up is when we have this discussion in a few minutes, we might want to think about revising our current plan to have some rhyme and reason as far as our next, hopefully this time, realistic target date. The second part of this conversation we'll have in a second is how are we going to reopen? When it's time and those 3 things, hit the metrics, the reopening committee gives a recommendation, the board takes action. We could do it in a full rollout, which would basically mean out of all of our kids, if 75% of parents chose the cohort, the hybrid. So doing the math, that's about 700 kids. We'd have 350 on sites at one time in the morning and in the afternoon. So that's what a full rollout would look like. 350 or so kids coming back to the schools at the same time. Or we could talk about a staggered rollout scenario, which has been, I think, discussed in other counties that have already reopened. And it could take many forms. If we did choose this, I think the recommendation would start with the little guys, because for a lot of reasons, we need to get them back sooner than later. So we can go with a transitional second grade reopening while we have all our resources and all hands on deck to make sure that goes successfully. After a set amount of time that we could discuss, we could roll out the next grades. Another idea is to do a TK through 5. And if we did this, we could possibly leave the middle schoolers at home and have the 4th and 5th grade go to Buena Vista to maximize the space. Again, these are just discussion triggers. They're not formal recommendations at this point. And then other options for a staggered rollout. So as of today, this is where we're at. We're continuing with phase 1 until, again, those metrics are even made, or even we're approaching them. When we get close, I would recommend that we look where our next board meeting would be. And if it's far away, we call a special meeting. If it's close up, we just go ahead and have another discussion there. We can discuss the waiver. We currently meet the under 14 cases, but we do not have testing capacity in place. So I don't know if the waiver would even be successful or be supported. To apply for a waiver, you also need consultation with your parent groups and with your bargaining units. It doesn't say a consultation. I read is people should be on the same page. And then we can discuss in a second providing targeted specialized support, which is allowed in phase 1. Basically, we could have groups of 14 or less students and 2 adults, or any combination of 16 at a site in a stable cohort. But it's not in person. It's not necessarily teaching. It's services. Could be special ed support. Could be English learner support. We've already tried it at Buena Vista, and we think it's successful. That was the first group did not have reliable connectivity at home. And basically, this is what that targeted specialized support looks like. We've already begun working with our union partners. We met with our teachers today to discuss what those working conditions would look like. We're going to reach out to who we think would be the next affected employees if we go that route, to make sure they feel comfortable. It's a small cohort, again, of 14 students and 2 adults, or a combination of 16. No cohort mixing. Obviously, whenever we're talking about bringing kids back at all, whether it's 1 or 300 at a time, or all 980, the strict health and safety protocols that are outlined in our reopening plan. And then I think we need to talk about prioritizing. And as a management group this morning, and then with the teachers, we talked about the priority would be perhaps another small cohort at Spreckels for those kids that don't have connectivity, and then start with our special day class student kids. And those are students that have 50% or more special ed services on their IEP. And then our English learners that are at the earliest level. So that would be the recommendation as far as the targeted special support and services. Thank you, Kate, for the visuals. This is what the BV gym looks like currently, and this is where we have that first cohort. It would be nice to have the space of a gym for every 14 kids. We don't, but you can see this is as safe as if it's going to be. The students come in every day. They're bused, as Heather said. Thank you very much, by the way, Heather and Classified, for working with us. They are picked up, temperature checked, brought to Buena Vista. They sit in their assigned area, same one every day. They have their hand sanitizer, say that 5 times, at their desk. They have basically reliable connectivity. There's no instruction going on. We're just trying to make sure they actually can log on to get the teacher instruction. So that was our first test, and I would say I'll let Kate add to it if you have questions about it, but it's been very, very successful for the most part. But it did, at just 14 kids, open our eyes to, wow, there's going to be some issues, you know. Heather joked about every time a kid sneezes, it has a whole new, it's different. And that's definitely the case with this cohort. when something goes wrong, you want to make sure you address it the right way and make sure everybody's safe. So the next steps I would recommend is that we have a discussion in a second regarding the waiver process, any revisions to the reopening plan. At this point, we need to revise, from the metrics, and then talk about expanding those support services to the next cohorts. We'll continue meeting with the reopening committee. Again, they saw a different version of this presentation before. And then we will continue to survey our parents. Again, parents, sorry for the surveys, but it's the best way to get your views. And I know your views may change on conditions and your experience with distance learning. So with that said, I'm coming back. And any questions or comments?
Yes. Eric, sorry, I had a question. I was a little bit confused though, because I thought on the top of the presentation that the process was going to be that the reopening committee made a recommendation to the board, which we would then discuss, adopt, amend, or decide what to do with. But then at the end of the presentation, it sounds like you're asking the board to give direction to the reopening committee to make a recommendation to the board that we're supposed to adopt or discuss or work on. So
yeah,
that's getting a little circular. That's getting a little circular for me. So can we clarify that? Because I kind of feel like we went through the process of creating a reopening committee. We should probably task them with what we've asked them to do.
Right. So at this point, I would say that let's say we hit metrics at this point, right? And we met with the reopening committee last week. See from them a recommendation. Okay, based on we met the metrics, what recommendation do you have for the board? And it could be, well, let's pick the end of the trimester, or let's pick the 4 weeks from here as a recommendation to the board for you to act on. The fact that we don't even have the metrics met, it's almost like, what recommendation can we even make? The consensus, I believe, and there's members here that were on the.
But you're asking for guidance from us regarding whether or not to reopen based on the same information that the reopening committee just said we can't make a recommendation. I mean, I'm happy to discuss it, but I just want to be clear. One, this is an informational item, so we can give discussion, so we can't give direction. But what is it you're looking for from the board right now? Because I want to be clear what the question is.
I'm looking, good question. And I think I'm lost in my own circle.
Right. What's the question you're asking of us tonight?
I would like to go back to the reopening committee and revise the reopening plan, which is going to be, outdated in about 3 days on the 9th, right? Because that's our phase 2 trigger day. But I'd also like to go back there with.
Well, yes and no, because you actually, if you go, can you pull your slides up again? Sorry, if you go back to your first slide or one of your first slides, which says these are the 3 criteria we need to reopen, or these are the 3 steps we have to make to reopen.
Right.
The committee has to make it. I mean, I'm all about following our policies, and we've created a policy. We should follow it.
Right. So at this point, there's really nothing. The metrics haven't been. The first of those triggers hasn't been hit. So it's just a conversation right now. So okay. I say that this is informational for the board. I did want to take your temperature as far as the staggered approach. The recommendation committee, I think the consensus was, and the people that are in this meeting that were there, it seemed like most people were in favor, not everybody, most people were in favor of a staggered approach. So that would be a recommendation that came. So I guess with that information, I'd like to go back to the reopening committee and basically monitor those metrics. And when we get close, get a formal recommendation for them saying, okay, based on, we hit the numbers, now start counting 4 weeks out. What would be the best time to come back? Get that recommendation and then come to you for approval. But I would like to hear your thoughts about, I don't want to go back to that document and have that process with the reopening committee if the staggered, with their recommendation of staggering the reopening isn't already supported.
And are you talking about staggering, because this is what I want to clarify, sorry for myself and hopefully for the rest of the board, are you talking about staggering based on a waiver application as of, say, date tomorrow? Or are you talking about staggering when we are free to open based on the state's predetermined triggers for when you can open, meaning being in red for 4 weeks. So when you're asking, okay. So are you asking for direction on board? Are we interested in applying for a waiver?
That's one question, yes.
So you have two questions. One is, what do you want to do when we reopen? And two, do you want to apply for a waiver?
Yes.
And three, do you want to apply for a waiver with a staggered reopen?
I think the waiver's second. I mean, yeah.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Okay, sorry, I'll stop taking all the time. So let me open up. I know it's kind of hard. I'm sure people have questions. Unless somebody's burning and I'm trying to see you, I'm just going to go in order just to make sure everybody gets heard on this one. Chris, do you want to start?
Sure. I don't think there's any pressure right now about going for a waiver. If there were an outcry and we were hearing that through the reorganization committee, then we'll respond to it. But right now, I don't hear that outcry. So I don't feel any pressure about applying for a waiver at this point. On the other question, if we meet the criteria at that moment, whatever it is, we'll have to decide whether or not we're going to bring them all back, bring the students back in at once, or do it in a staggered approach. I don't have any kids in the district, so it makes more sense to me to do it in a staggered approach, because that would give us a chance to try out all of our checks and balances. And the way that we do that, I have concerns for our pre-Ks and our little, and try to get them back on campus earlier. But I can imagine that if I did have kids in the district, I might feel a little bit differently trying to make that decision now. And then if it were like right before Christmas and you were asking me, do I want my kids staggered and coming in 3 weeks after the other kids, I might have a different response. So it seems to me like I wouldn't be able to answer that question until we had met that first bar. We knew when we were moving from the purple to the red. And once we know when that really happens, then we can consider all those things in a real context rather than in a theoretical kind of context.
Great. Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, I agree with Chris on the waiver that I haven't, the feedback issue also. I think, yeah, I agree with Chris on the waiver, and I agree with Chris on the staggering. With the staggering, though, I want to say that I will encourage our committee to consider the staggering, and I would also encourage our committee to consider, I know that a lot of people are really liking that AV schedule every day, but the more I've been thinking about it, the class time that you're going to have in class, and if we're going to stagger, it just makes sense to me to consider the 2 full day schedules, right? And I know that we steered away from that, but I would really encourage the committee to revisit that.
Thank you. Steve?
I think both Chris and Jennifer and yourself, Peter, trying to hone in on what we need to do here with this. Agree with pretty much everything that's been said. And I know that we've explored the turning around campus, blue gold, report starboard, half and half in the same day. And be able to prepare for the afternoon session with cleaning, sanitizing, whichever the case may be. It would be a lot more. I'd be a lot more comfortable with what Jen suggested, that you can have the crew prepare for the next crew on the next day. I know that's not optimal or what people want to hear, especially our parents or customers. But we got to do this right. And that's why I think also the staggered approach makes a lot more sense, in that we can test those procedures and systems out as we and perfect them for larger populations when we're fully phased in. And as far as a waiver goes, I'm not hearing anything about it from our customers, right? From our parents yet. I'm not hearing it from staff yet. And the only way I'll entertain a waiver is if it's an action item. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and wonder about it. If it's an action item, I'll make a decision then. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And I think the reason we have the committee is because it has broad representation from our stakeholders. And I'd really like to hear their input before we, at least from my perspective, before we entertain any type of decision. I think it's far better that I want to see the recommendations first. And so I'm looking for their guidance because, again, that has representation from all the stakeholders across the district. And it's hard to make a decision without having input from everyone. And I think that's why we have the committee in place. So that's all I have to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, so Eric, thank you for the presentation. It was very informative, but I think you're getting clear indication from the board that when we want the process to play out, that we value the input from the reopening committee, because that's an important part of the process, is getting the stakeholder input. We don't want to get the cart too far in front of the horse. But that being said, it sounds like there's certainly interest in reviewing a staggered approach and reviewing the way we stagger it in a way that might make more sense now that we're farther down the road and have some different information. And I think Jennifer made a very good point in bringing up the idea of days rather than half days. So food for thought. Hopefully we gave you what you needed.
No, absolutely. And I apologize again for the confusion, but you gave me exactly what I need to go back to the committee now. So
great. And I think we all look forward to hearing back from the committee.
Okay.
And I'm agreeing with everybody else. Look, when we're above 10 new cases per 100,000, I'm very aggressive, and I don't have the stomach to look right away for. So I think everybody's hearing that we want to do it, but we want to do it safely. Okay, I'm going to move on. First, July policy updates.
Peter, I have a question. Eric first.
Oh yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to rush anybody. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, I wanted to finish the conversation that we had, but going to, I got a question today. Said it was really clear to the person I was talking to that the purple is phase 1, and then the red's phase 2. When we're going to, at least right now, the hybrid model is what's planned. Phase 3, when we're completely open, is that orange, or are we waiting for yellow?
I don't think we've attached it to a color, to be honest with you.
That's a really good question, Chris. We would enjoy hearing from our reopening committee regarding that.
Well, the answer right now is only in red can you bring back in-person instruction. That's all based on the guidelines. So I would hope that there's going to be another round of guidelines once the COVID rate's a lot different that says you're back to normal or whatever.
Well, and I think I can, with an informed response, jump in that Chris and everybody, that once we hit red and we onboard our students, however we do that, we can continue to do that if we choose to, even if we end up back in purple. I know that seems bizarre, but that is allowable. So getting to the red or below, but red, and onboarding, if we're doing it well, we can still do that even if things go sideways with the metrics, unless I misunderstood. But I think I'm right about that.
I think you're right. I just don't think the guidelines have been released about when it's okay to bring back all students, not following the social distancing. That doesn't exist yet, I believe.
Yeah.
But I wasn't suggesting before times.
Right.
But just bringing students on board, however we do it.
Yeah. Well, so what I can tell that person, what I can tell myself is that we were right to be confused by that question because it's a confusing situation. So we did good.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's go to, I need a policy to approve the first read July 2020 policy update.
I'll move it.
Second.
Does anybody want to remark on any of the policies or bring anything forward?
I know that we were supposed to discuss if we were going to chunk them like in the past or not.
So yeah, all of them together are pretty overwhelming in the past, and we just want to kind of have a discussion with you if you want to continue with that. We would group them kind of by category, business to one of the board members, special ed to another, curriculum to another, to kind of like lessen your load. In years past, it might have been more clear. We had business guys on the board, and so if you would divvy it up and kick it out to you in chunks and have each person be kind of the expert on their part, it's either that or we can continue providing you all of them for your input.
I'd prefer to continue to chunk it up because that was a lot.
Chunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chunk.
Sounds good. Then we'll use our best guess about who would like what. All right. Trust us.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me what I get.
Okay.
Yep. But we reserve our right to complain.
Of course.
Okay. Okay. That being made clear for the future, Chris?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 5-0-0. Consent items. Anybody want to bring anything out on the consent items? Okay. Hearing none. I need a motion.
Quick thank you to the Bobcat Club just generously paid for last year's field trips. Just want to acknowledge them. For a lot less than years past because of the lack of some field trips, but again, their donation is very appreciated.
Every bit helps. I need a motion to approve.
Move.
Second.
Okay. Chris?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 5-0-0. Future agenda items, I'm assuming the reopening plan is coming back. Anything else anybody want to add or remove?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it probably makes sense for Tammy to give us an update on the special ed since we're thinking about bringing those kids back onto campus in the near future. So that would be good at the next meeting to hear about that.
Very good idea. Thank you, Chris.
And if I could just quickly add, Peter, we just want to make sure that you are able to attend what will be your final meeting after a very career time.
Don't say that yet. I am sure we have time to get a special meeting in between now and then.
Okay, well,
or maybe even a couple of them.
Exactly.
I was going to say, don't jinx it, please. Yes, I plan on attending.
Very good.
Let me double check. Let me double check my calendar. No, I'm teasing. I'm busy that day. I'm busy. Oh, it's election day.
Is it
my
really?
God.
We always hit it on election day, don't we?
It is election day.
But we seem to always do that.
Yes, we did that last time, and hopefully this time is.
That's because we're geared to election day because we're the first Tuesday of the month. Okay, that's a great way to spend election day because I'm going to be going. Oh my God. Yes. Okay.
Yikes.
Wow. Yikes. All right. With that being said, I need a motion to adjourn.
Let's do that. Move.
Yeah. Chris.
Aye.
Jennifer.
Aye.
Steve.
I'm definitely an aye.
All right. Michael.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Thank you all so much. It was a good discussion. Look forward to seeing you on election day.
Thank you. I appreciate you all. Have a good night.